What was unusual is that you were signing away your life rights. It wasn't, we will, take a percentage of what you earn. It was, we will dock your wages for the rest of your life. Do you think that Ebony ran into you on the runway because you're plus size and you take up more of the runway?
Wait,
Yeah, they took strands of our hair. Tyra bears a lot of the brunt of criticism, and they said, no, don't touch them. You have to leave. And then we didn't see her again. I was really afraid she was going to have a seizure or have brain damage. This story was coming out one way or another.
by the way, is there anything you would rather me not talk about or you're not comfortable talking about?
No, I think it's pretty much, I'm a pretty open book. Yeah, everything. If it's in the
Awesome.
book, I mean, literally.
True.
Yeah. So here, wait, let me know that. The only thing is sometimes people ask what I would say to Tyra, which is like a great and very valid question.
Oh,
It's just how I end the book. So I don't like to answer
yeah.
because
They need
it's
to
literally
read the
the
book.
only spoiler.
The only spoiler.
I mean, for a show that aired 15 years ago, I'm like, there's no spoilers except what I would
You'd be
say to Tyra.
surprised. You'd be
Well, yeah,
surprised.
true.
Okay, let me do a little. I feel like we're having too much fun before we start this.
I know. We got to
We need to be on ice. No
No, on
speaking.
ice.
No
I know.
speaking. Hey everyone, today I have with me Sarah Hartshorne, and she is a writer, comedian, and content creator. She was the plus size contestant on Cycle 9 of America's Next Top Model, and after the show, she modeled all over the world for clients like Glamour, Vogue, Skechers, and more. And she's written about her experiences with plus size modeling, travel, and body image for The Guardian, Gawker, and Teen Vogue. She lives in New York City with her husband and daughter. And today we're going to be talking all about her book, which details her time spent on America's Next Top Model. It's called You Want to Be on Top. Everything that you thought you knew about America's Next Top Model, you don't because you haven't read this book yet. And Sarah, I'm so excited to have you here with us today.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
And talk about this book that you wrote.
Thank you. Yeah. It's You Want to Be on Top, which someone just commented on a TikTok that I posted today and was like, I can't believe you got to name it that. Like, I can't believe that wasn't taken. And honestly, same, like, that's a great point. And I even got youwannabetontop.com, which just makes me laugh so hard. So yeah, it's been, it's been years in the making, and it came out this summer, and it's really exciting, and it's been a really surreal process of promoting the book and talking about it. And it all started because I just made a silly TikTok in 2020 when we were all locked down, just sharing my experience, and I've been so surprised that people were still so invested in the show all these years later.
So I was going to ask you, well, yeah, what inspired you to write this book? Because we're going to talk about this in a minute, and I'm going to get to all the good stuff too. But the NDAs for this show, you detail in the book about all the paperwork you had to fill out. How was it writing a book like this while you had to sign the NDA on the show?
Honestly, writing the book should have been scarier, and I should have been more worried. Not that I'm worried now. My publishers have an amazing legal team, and they definitely combed through the book, and they were really careful, and they also talked to me about a lot of things, and were sure to make sure that I did feel comfortable. But I'm also such a chronic oversharer that this story was coming out one way or another. I just happened to get really lucky that I found an amazing literary agent who helped me shape it into the book that it is, and an amazing editor who helped make the book so much better. So it's really like I was already spilling all the tea on TikTok. It was all going to come out, and I am really glad that it got to take this format, because writing about it and really fleshing it out and really reading my diaries from the time and rewatching it and interviewing people and sort of confirming, that everyone has those memories where you're like, that's so crazy. I can't believe that happened. And this was such a good way to be like, yes, it was crazy. And also let's really process it. So I should be more nervous. I should be more hesitant. I did sign NDAs, but I'm someone that an NDA hates to see me coming. A secret hates to see me coming. Really, I am a talker and I'm a chronic oversharer, so it's
And
coming out.
it hates to see me coming. Did you
truly.
hear anything from the show or any of the producers when they got word of you writing a book?
I haven't heard anything. I've seen a couple articles where they said that they reached out for comment, but none where they got it. So I think, Tyra has a full-on company that's not even related to Top Model. She's making ice cream in Australia now. Like, she's on the other side of the world. She has a lot going on. I don't in any way expect her to necessarily even give a statement. And I understand, I'm not saying that she shouldn't be held accountable and that the producers shouldn't be held accountable. I just also understand that it's not a given. And also, I do think it's really telling, like, I don't know, I feel like Tyra bears a lot of the brunt of criticism for things where there were a lot of people involved. You know what I mean? There was a whole production team, there was a whole network, there were sponsors, there were a lot of people creating the environment on set that was so harmful and so toxic. And I feel like a lot of times it all gets directed at Tyra, which makes sense. She was the face of it. I get it, but um like, no, I haven't heard anything. I did interview an executive producer for the book, which was great, and that was really nice of him to sit down with me and to talk with me about it.
Did he mention anything about, hey, you filled out an NDA or there was a contract or anything?
No, he was really sweet and really supportive. And he was, he said some things that were sort of jarring and not upsetting to hear per se, but were, um, came from a different viewpoint than I have. Like, he was sort of, he was of the feeling that like the show is the biggest thing that a lot of girls did or will ever do. And so, we should be more grateful for it. And that's not how I really feel about it. I do feel like the environment was really toxic. And also, like, going forward, I hope we can change how we do that kind of reality show. But he was really nice and he was really supportive. And he gave a really in-depth interview. We really talked about a lot of details and a lot of stuff. And he had a lot of great insight and confirmation and information. So.
You touched on it slightly, but I wanted to ask you, I was going to ask you this at the end actually, but if you were to redo the show in 2025, what would you change about it? Being on the show and experiencing that.
Oh, I mean, the biggest thing is just that I would pay the contestants. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard in your book you write about the $37 a day
Hmm.
stipend that you guys got to pick out. And
To
can
pay
you tell
for,
me a little bit about that?
yeah, we got $37 a day and we had to use that to pay for our food, which would vary in price. So we weren't always spending that much. And I certainly worked really hard to spend as little as possible on food, but some girls did not. And we didn't know also that after we were eliminated, we would not be allowed to go home and we would have to continue to buy food and we would not be getting the stipend. So a lot of girls were financially devastated. I was financially devastated by the show. I came home with much less money than when I went out there. And when I talk to other contestants on reality shows, a lot of times they're like, oh, yeah, we only got a stipend too. But when we actually compare numbers, like I talked to someone who was on The Bachelor and she was like, yeah, I mean, we got like $400 a day. And I was like,
Stop.
we got $37. And she was shocked. So I think that's really the biggest thing is that I think that people on reality shows are doing labor, they're doing work, and they deserve to be paid for it. And especially, a 17, 19-hour day hits a lot less hard when you're getting paid for it. And we weren't.
Everyone else was getting paid, but you guys seems, I
Exactly.
mean, I'm pretty sure that was the case.
Hmm.
You know what was crazy? What was crazy to me is because I'm a photographer, so I work with models and they tell me how much they make from a single commercial or a brand deal or being the face of a brand. And the fact that you guys were doing stuff for like it was a brand would be like, you're going to be advertising this brand and
Hmm.
doing a commercial for this brand. You in the real world, you guys would be paid thousands of dollars for that. But
Yeah.
did you realize that when you were on the show, or were you just so excited to do it?
I don't think I put it together in that way when we were on the show for sure. Like I did understand that it was also there was such a carrot dangling of like, oh, if you win, you will get money. And And also, again, I didn't know that after I was eliminated, I would be spending all my money, everything that I had saved up. I was working really hard not to spend $37 a day on food. I was saving that up. And I thought, okay, I'll have a little nest egg after the show. And then for 2 weeks, I was kept in a hotel room. I had to pay for my own food and also, pay for like we got one outing every couple days. They would take us out and you had to pay for that. And so I think it just, yeah, I would definitely, if I were ever going to build that show, I would pay the contestants. I would have reasonable working hours. I would, yeah, pay. And I did a lot of commercials and different types of catalog work after the show. And yeah, I got paid really well for it. It was great. I was surprised though that how little high fashion pays, because obviously I was a plus size contestant. I did plus size modeling and I didn't really try to pursue high fashion or like runway work or anything. It's not that it wasn't an option. I just didn't do it. But I did shoot a cover of a Vogue and I got paid so much less. And I was
Oh,
like, oh, weird.
if a lot of people don't know that a lot of those times you don't even get paid. It's just for the
Mhm.
exposure.
Yeah, I did get paid. I got paid $150, which is
That's
not
crazy.
nothing. And it was,
That's
and in, I know it's not a lot, but this was in, I mean, this must have been 2000, I think 2010 or something. But, um, but it was about a tenth of what I was getting paid on catalog shoots. So I was also honestly validating because I was so excited to have the photo and to do it. But then I was like, I made the right choice going after catalogs because I can pay my rent.
we got to pay our bills.
We gotta pay our bills.
Exposure is not going to pay the bills.
I know.
So, okay, so after the show, you were able to do catalogs and covers and things like this. But before the show, before you even thought about auditioning, in your book, you mentioned your friend Michael was the one telling you to audition and
Yeah.
kind of pushing you towards that. Did you have any interest in modeling? And then take us through the process of auditioning for the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of young girls, especially in the early 2000s, I did have, it's not that it had never occurred to me to model, but it occurred in a very like, wouldn't that be cool? But it's not actually possible. It's not like I had people in my life saying like, oh, you should be a model. That wasn't something I heard regularly or really at all. And so it very much, I wanted to be an actress. And my friend pointed out, like getting on TV is a great way to get an inroad into that career. And so I thought that that was what I wanted. And I figured, yeah, and again, it was the same thing. I was like, well, it's exposure, so I'll do that. And I didn't really realize how different modeling and acting are. And also, I ended up realizing I didn't like being an actress, but
It seems
but
like
at
you
the
guys were
time,
acting on the show from what
I
the
know.
book. You guys had to
Yeah.
act your way out of a lot of situations.
I mean, in as much as any, neurodivergent person is acting at any time, to pretend like they understand. I was pretending I understood what was happening a lot. So, um, yeah. And I definitely no, I had never thought about it. It was definitely his idea. I will say I put up sort of a pretend fight. Like, what? Me? No, I could never. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's
Let's
go.
go. I'm number one. What does it take to be number one? It's me.
What? You think I could be a model? Who this?
And then
Who
you just
me?
strike a pose.
I could. Yeah,
Who
let's
me? Little
yeah.
old me?
Although in high school I was known for looking awful in candid photos, which is really fun. Or no,
Stop.
actually no, I'm sorry, in posed photos. My friends would be like, "You look so pretty if you
Don't
don't mind
try.
having your picture taken, but the second you know." So, some of my friends were surprised. Some were not.
Were they surprised watching you model on the show then? They're like,
Yeah.
yes, she's doing amazing.
Yeah, no, and they had like viewing parties at a coffee shop in my hometown, or not in my hometown, but near my hometown. My hometown actually didn't get cable television at the time, because it's a really small town. And I ended up having a book event at that same coffee shop, however
I
many years
love
later.
that.
Yeah, over the
I love
summer. It was
that.
really beautiful. It was a really nice full circle moment.
So you talk about the audition process and what that was like, and I found it so interesting. By the way, I had to write down notes. I have like a whole notepad of notes. And I remember gasping at one of the things you wrote, which I'm going to get to in a little, but
Uh-huh.
you mentioned that they make you fill out so many forms. And one of the forms, it says, I wrote it down because I couldn't believe it. I kind of watching the show, I'm like, I'm not surprised.
Right? You're surprised, but not, you're shocked, but not surprised. You're surprised, but not shocked. I don't know. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
don't want to believe that it's true. So there's a part where you write, you had to fill out a section called stresses in life. And
Stresses
you
in
have
your
to
life.
write about stresses in your life with housing, inadequate housing, homelessness, conflicts with neighbors, or even a landlord. Like, they
Mhm.
want to know if you have problems with anyone. And if you do, tell us names.
Oh, I mean, it was broken down into every category imaginable: health problems, health insurance problems, money problems, your parents' money problems, like any crime that you've committed or your family has committed. They did, and they checked and they looked and saw, if I'd ever been arrested, if my parents had ever been arrested. Um, and I'm trying to think. I think the health insurance was the one where I was like, that is just so specific to America.
I would be like, I don't have any, actually.
I know.
American problems.
Don't
Don't
even
have
worry.
health insurance.
I don't have health insurance. No. And yeah, siblings, extended family. It was really, really detailed. And also it's so clear when you're filling it out, like this is the thing. This is where they find your hook. This is what makes them decide if you're interesting enough.
And then you also mentioned they needed a full medical history and the name of every doctor the models have ever seen. You guys, this is
Mhm.
I couldn't. I had to write this one down because I could not believe when you were reading this, when you're filling out the form, when you were 19 years old. What did you think?
It really just by that point, by the time I had gone through the casting and was filling out the application, I was in. I was in hook, line, and sinker. So it was just sort of like a hyper focused, like I have a goal now. It's like that a quote from The Office. Michael Scott says, "I've had this goal since lunchtime, and I'm not going to let it go." And that's really how I felt. I was like, I've had this goal since my friend suggested it, however many days ago, and now. But it really was. I was like, there's a path. You know what I mean? If I fill this out right, if I do this right, I can get a reward. Which my brain really was like, that's the ultimate. That's what you want. And so I don't even know if I necessarily like took the time to be like this. The one time that I did have a moment of like zooming out and reflecting on the situation at large was I had to find a health clinic in South Boston. And there was a woman looking right inside me, like I was in the gynecological stirrups, staring at the ceiling with this woman who goes, "Wow, they really want to get up in you." She had a really strong Boston accent. And I was like, this is weird. This is weird. And that was really it. The rest of the time I was like tunnel vision.
Like, I'm almost there. Just one more thing to, and that's kind
Mhm.
of how they get you, right? It's like if you're so close to being on the show, just one more form or one
I know.
more
We just have to draw your blood in
procedure.
this hotel room. We just have to, take a strand of your hair. We just, yeah.
Wait,
Yeah. They took strands of our hair.
again, I'm not surprised.
And that was
Not
right
surprised.
when Britney Spears had just shaved her head. So we all knew why they were doing it. We never would have known. You know what I mean? We just would have been like, why do you need her hair? But that happened to be the big news story at the time. So we were all like, oh, they're checking for drugs. So
So you had mentioned in your book, and I'm gonna be referencing this book a lot because again, there's just so much in here.
thank
You
you.
guys, and I've done so many reaction videos to the photo shoots, and I've had I speculated a lot, right? But this is just confirmation of all my speculations. I feel very validated. Thank you for writing
Yes,
this.
my pleasure. No, yeah, everything you thought and more was.
Not only have you fill out the detail of your life and your family, also your family and
Mhm.
your friends, but also that they make you do a psychological assessment, that they
Mhm.
have therapists and they have producers talking to you constantly to the point where you referred to the show as a cult. It felt very cultish, you mentioned. Can you just talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah, that realization happened much later. I actually was working on the book. I was sort of fleshing out the chapters. I had an editor and I was like really excited. And I said, what should I read? Like, what do you think would sort of help with the research and, help me come in. And she had some recommendations for books about reality shows, like Cue the Sun. It's about the history of reality shows. It's a great book. And then she was like, I actually really think you should read this book called Cultish by Amanda Montell. And I was sort of like, okay. And I thought that she was having me read it because it's like, it's actually not really a memoir. It's a research book, and it is about cults of all different kinds. And I wasn't even really sure, but she recommended it. I was 5 pages in and I was like, I got suckered into a cult. Every tactic that she outlined, and she talks about like good cults and bad cults, right? Like, okay, spin cycle, harmless, right? She has sort of like a scale of like, spin cycle to like, drinking the Kool-Aid. And some are good, right? It's because a cult is just people coming together with a common goal. That's not a bad thing. It's when that common goal is used to manipulate people and force them to act in ways that are not in relationship to themselves. That's when it becomes a problem. And there were just so many things and so many tactics that they used, like repeating the same phrases over and over. I mean, dozens, if not hundreds of times, they would use the same phrases. They would say, "We will dock your wages for the rest of your life." Um, America's Next Top Model is in this room. This opportunity is what you make of it. We have a million girls' phone numbers, and I'm sorry, a million girls would kill would kill for this opportunity, and we have their phone numbers. And I know that they used that specific phrasing, and I know that they used it a lot because 15 years later, when I was calling other contestants and I would ask them about what they remembered, they all remembered the exact same phrases to the word, no deviation. Like Jenna Doucette, I was talking to her and she was like, yeah, I was so afraid they were going to dock my wages for the rest of my life. And I was like, that was it. That was the phrase. It wasn't, we'll take a cut of your paycheck for the rest of your life. It wasn't, we will, take a percentage of what you earn. It was, we will dock your wages for the rest of your life.
How would they be able to do that? Is it because of the contract you signed? Did you?
If we violated the confidentiality agreement and we let someone know who won before the episode aired, they could sue for violation of the NDA. That was the real heart of the NDA, was letting people know who won before the episode aired. And it basically said that they could sue us for $5 million. None of us had $5 million. So to get that money, they would dock our wages for the rest of our lives.
You had $37 though.
I was like, you want it back? You can have it back right now. I'm not hungry.
She's like, okay, 5 million, no, but I have 37. What
Yeah.
is that
Although
gonna be okay?
this was even before we were getting paid. I don't think we got paid on the cruise ship because they covered our meals there. So we did not get paid for the first episode at all.
That's crazy.
I know.
No, I'm sorry. So yes, the NDA, $5 million NDA if you breach it.
Mm-hmm.
So that probably scared a lot of models.
It did. It's pretty standard for reality shows, and $5 million too. It's like people made a big deal about the amount even at the time, but that is pretty standard for reality shows. The thing that was unusual about it was not that they required you to not, like, it makes sense that they don't want the winner to be revealed. What was unusual is that you were signing away your life rights.
Even if you didn't win. If you got nothing out of it, you still,
yep.
But when you're in an environment like that, again, that could feel like a cult, you want to stay in line. You don't want to deviate. You don't want to be the odd one out.
Yeah.
But through your experiences, you mentioned that there was a moment where you thought that every conversation would be about your weight when you were introducing yourself to the girls. Yeah. When did that really hit for you?
Immediately. It really was. It was like an ominous foretelling that absolutely came to fruition. Like I got there and I realized that I looked different than they did. And I thought about, the application that I'd filled out, and I thought about how that was something that whenever the girls were in a group and were allowed to talk and were like able to sort of compare experiences, that was something we'd say was like, what do you think your hook is going to be? What do you think your thing is going to be? And I was like, my thing is going to be that I'm plus size. That's going to be the thing. And that means that we're going to talk about my weight. And it was so scary because my weight was the thing that I thought about the most and talked about the least. And when you have something like that in your brain where you are obsessing about it and you don't talk about it, that's where shame lives, is in secrets and is in feeling like you can't talk about something. So in some ways, it was almost like I don't think it's a bad thing to pull a rock up. You know, if you have a shameful secret, pull the rock up, look at the worms underneath, talk about it. But it was in such an unhealthy context and it was in such a way that these producers were only hoping to exacerbate the shame. So of which I had so much for them to work with, you know.
With when it comes to, yeah, your body and everything, before the show, before you went on the show, did you still feel that way, or was it did they like reveal it more? Like did they put a spotlight on that way more and made it worse for you after the show? Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
it does make sense. I like to say that I built the foundation, they built the house. I absolutely had a foundation of body dysmorphia and issues with my with eating and disordered eating, and I was ready to jump into fully disordered eating, and they just gave me the bump that I needed. So it's one of those. I certainly don't blame them in that I don't think that they planted any seeds that weren't there, but they sure as hell watered them. And the other thing about body dysmorphia is that it is such an asshole. It really takes every compliment and just twists it and twists it and twists it until it's an insult. And every insult, perceived or otherwise, is just confirmation of what you're already thinking. And so when they would say things like, oh, do you think that Ebony ran into you on the runway because you're plus size and you take up more of the runway? It was like, my brain was like, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot to be self-conscious about that. You know what I mean? It was like, I let a moment slip by without being ashamed and embarrassed. And it was like, okay, that can't happen again. I have to be vigilantly like ahead of it and self-hating so they can't surprise me like that again, if that makes sense.
When that moment happened, when Abby ran into you, I think you mentioned that you didn't even notice that you were, it was just like pure adrenaline.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of like they reminded you, or even like we're pushing you into the narrative, like, no, you should be upset about that because what if it
Oh,
was because of this? But you
100%.
never even thought that in the first place. It never even came to your mind.
And also, I mean, I think that that's something that like a lot of performers can relate to is like you sort of get out there and are like in this weird like nether sphere, like you're not, like it's happened to me on stage before, both with like stand-up comedy and also when I used to do theater, like where I would come off stage and be like, did that go well? Did I do it right? Like, did I say my lines? Like, I have no idea. Um, and in those ways, it's like in those moments, it's like really beautiful and really positive. And this would have been that, I think, where I would have gotten off and been like, okay, I guess I did it. Crazy adrenaline, crazy, like, yeah, just being in the moment. But because there was this thing that happened that I had no memory of, it felt like I was like, oh, like supposed to talk about it, and I literally don't remember it. And it happened 30 seconds ago, and you're like, okay, I just have to take your word for it.
In the moment too, if it happened, and I think you would have noticed that if it's something that you immediately, it was like your immediate reaction, you would have been like, why did Ebony run into? But I think it wasn't even
Yeah.
an issue, but they twisted it, and it kind of got you thinking like, oh, should I have thought that? That's how they put these. That's how they stir the pot a little bit, right? With some of the
Yeah.
contestants. Did you feel like throughout the show that they were trying to get you guys to argue,
Oh, very
or
much.
there's
Yeah.
drama happening?
Yeah, and they would also say things, they would tell us that girls had said things that they may or may not have. You know what I mean? Like, I remember at one point they were like, oh, Lisa says she doesn't think you belong here. And I was like, I also think that sometimes. And I was like, no, that's fair. But
Sarah.
also, I was like thinking of things that I had said that I did, that I had felt manipulated into. And I was like, not only is there context that I don't have from that, I don't even know if it happened for real. Also, how many leading questions did you ask to get her to say some version of that? And so, yeah, it very much felt, even in the moment, like we were being manipulated. Even to me, who is like looking back, I was oblivious to a lot of it. But even I, like, no, like I missed a lot, but I
They made sure you
I couldn't miss it
remembered.
all.
They're like, remember when Lisa said this about you? And you're like, no,
No.
actually, I was in the hot tub avoiding
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
Avoiding you
Or
guys.
and doing a great job, but I have to be here now, so no, I don't care about that. Yeah. No, it was really yeah, it definitely made it sometimes easier to just be like, well, I can disregard that. But then it was so often. I mean, it's every day, multiple times a day. And also, the weird thing is, like, when I'm writing about the interviews, they definitely were one of the hardest parts, but I remember so clearly, like, I actually kind of liked them. Like, and I wanted them to like me. I wanted them to think I was doing a good job. Even though, like, I would come out of it feeling awful, I still, it's fun to be interviewed.
You wanted to appease them, because and that's something very normal on these shows. The reason that you become successful and make it through each round is if you're likable, right? It's based on your likeness. If the
Yeah.
judges don't like you, you're not going to make it very far. Or they could. Do you feel like they could keep you if you're a villain and then just carry you through to create drama?
Yeah, I think it depends. Yeah. I mean, and I think like the other thing is like, some girls are undeniable, especially in modeling. I never was. And I'm okay with that. I don't say that to be self-deprecating. I think I was a really good model and I think I was really beautiful. I
You
wasn't.
still are.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Still
No,
are.
I know, but I mean, when I was a working model, I had everything that it took to be a working, obviously, because I was. But I wasn't like, I mean, Lisa, when you look at her, you know in your heart immediately that she's a model. She is undeniable. And like her proportions are insane for a normal person to just walk around in. She is built to wear clothes. It's amazing. And I didn't have that. And it was really interesting, like, to see, yeah, how much personality matters, because that does matter when you're going into a casting or when you are working with people. Like, it very much matters. Not that Lisa doesn't have an amazing personality too. I think I knew, like, there's this idea of, oh, just be undeniable and then they will have to keep you on. That's not always an option if you don't look like a model, or the platonic ideal of a model in 2007.
Things have changed a lot now, which is
Yeah.
great. But yeah, what you guys had to go through is, from what I've heard from the contestants, and again in your book, it's very not like the real world of modeling. It mirrors some things, but I think it's very much different. What, in your opinion, was the biggest difference leaving when you left the show? What was the biggest difference with the real world of modeling versus America's Next Top Model?
I mean, there were so many. The biggest was that, they cut all my hair off, and all the agencies said that they couldn't work with me when I had short hair.
Whoa,
Um,
wait, hold on. Wait. Now we got to talk about the makeover because I got so
yeah,
many questions about that from people.
yeah,
Let's talk about your makeover because I know everyone wants to know about this.
yes. I went in with long brown hair that I think they thought I was very attached to, and I just was too poor to afford a haircut. And like, I worked at
You
a
really are
salon.
hilarious. But
No, thank you.
you know the TikTok comments where it's like when being broke has saved me from this experience or something.
Truly. And I think they thought that I was going to cry. And so they just cut my hair. They cut it into what was then the Rihanna haircut and has since become the Karen haircut. But it was blonde with like a bang and then really, really short in the back. It grew out very badly. I couldn't maintain it. And yeah, all the agencies, when I went to them, said, sorry, we can't work with you while you have short hair. Come back when it's long. Come back in a year. um, which is how long, it takes to grow out your hair. And so I mean, that was the biggest immediate difference. And then also, I mean, granted, I worked in catalogs and not high fashion where there can be more extreme circumstances. But again, you're getting paid for them, which just really helps. Any girl that's being dangled from a helicopter for Vogue is at least getting paid. I'm hopefully getting paid more than I did to get to a Vogue, I assume, but I don't know. But also like, I mean, in fashion, especially if it's for a legitimate publication, they're going to work really hard to keep the conditions on set like any working conditions should be. You know what I mean? Um, and so, yeah, like I remember one time I was shooting a catalog and it was sort of cold. And they were so apologetic and they did so much to make sure that we stayed warm. Like, and that was really the most extreme thing that ever happened. And I did a lot of shoots and I did a lot of like very interesting, artistic, and cool, weird shoots in weird locations, but I was never scared for my life.
That's the America's Next Top Model
Yeah,
experience.
I was never dangling from a helicopter holding a snake in my real modeling life.
The
And
America's Next Top Models producers are writing. They're like, that's a good idea.
they're like,
Let's
yeah,
do
let's
it.
do that. I know.
Let's
Yeah.
do that. Do you want to be credited for that,
A
Sarah?
100%, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Please credit me.
Credit
Um,
me too for also supporting that. Just
uh,
bump me in the
yeah,
credits. But you
yeah.
have to pay us for that idea.
Yes,
So
please. Yeah, copyright Sarah Hartshorne.
copyright. So okay, they cut your hair. Which wait,
Mhm.
did you like the makeover?
I liked it at the
You
time. Yeah,
genuinely
I would
liked
have
it.
liked
Okay.
anything they
You
did.
looked excited in the video.
No, I was super excited.
I think when I was reacting to your when I was reacting to the makeover video of you getting your haircut, I was like, Sarah, I would pack up my stuff and leave if I were you. I think that's what I told you. But you did look happy, so I was like, it's good if she's happy with it.
Now
That's
I would be
great.
a lot more upset. I got a haircut. I was 7 months pregnant and I asked for like a trim and he cut off like 8 inches and I cried. Um, because now I understand how long it takes to grow out a haircut. And I know more what I like. At the time I was like, I don't know what I want. I don't know who I am. I don't know what kind of hair I should have. Yeah, sure. Let's try short and blonde. Is this who I am? Um, and I loved it and I want like I felt really cool and edgy and unfortunately at the time there just wasn't room for that in the plus size industry. I think now a plus size model could have short hair, but
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But you bring up a good point about the agency. So you went to the agencies after the show and you mentioned that okay, maybe they weren't so sure about the hair. It's not going to work for us. Did they
yeah.
also, what was their response to your modeling portfolio from America's Next Top Model?
I had my modeling portfolio, but because I started modeling after my hair was long, I couldn't really use most of the photos. I did use the ones where I put them in the back of my book, but most clients really didn't care because they don't really show off what you really look like. All the things that make them really great for TV and all that make the photo shoots so amazing and fun to watch make them not actually great for a model's portfolio, unfortunately.
What was so the agencies actually looked at those photos though, right?
They looked at them. Yes, they looked at them and they recommended immediately that I get test shoots to fill out
You've
my
got to redo the
portfolio.
whole, and you're not the
Yeah.
first one to say you have to rebuild your entire portfolio after the
Yeah.
show.
And again, my experience was different because I was doing catalog where they were fully just neutral about the show. It wasn't positive or negative. I've heard that girls who tried to do high fashion, it could hurt them, and agents would tell them not to use those photos, or if they use the photos, not to say what they were from.
Wow.
And so, yeah, because a lot of like magazines don't want, especially at the time, didn't want to work with reality stars because there was a stigma attached to it. And so the major publications like Vogue and Elle and Glamour didn't want a girl that people would recognize, basically. Or if you recognize them, they want it to be from other magazines and from fashion.
Is that something that you heard a lot that you guys were considered more reality stars than models?
Yeah. And I know like the girls that did succeed in New York, there were a couple girls that I would see around in castings and I would see around in like the agency buildings and stuff. Like Fatima used to live right around the corner from me in New York. And I know that she did not use her top model photos.
What?
Yeah. And
Wow.
Cassandra, I used to see at a lot of castings. She was another plus size contestant. And um and she was I was super weird and awkward to her, and she was so rude. And I was like, I
Oh
can't
no.
really blame you right now. I know I'm being weird. But I was like, I was on top model too. And she was like, I don't care. And I was like, oh, okay, that's fair. Um, but it very much was like a mean girl in the cafeteria situation where I was like, okay, now we got to sit here at this casting for hours. Like,
It's like where are the handlers to be like, no speaking?
Right?
Who's
I know. I was like,
speaking?
oh my God, we're on ice. Okay. I'm gonna put myself on ice.
It seemed like you guys were not allowed to talk for like half of your time there. You mentioned
So
in the book,
much.
people, you would be saying one thing and they'd be like, no talking,
We're
no
talking.
talking. And you guys had to, I don't want to give away too much that's in the book though,
Yeah.
but it just gives a detailed account on
Yeah.
how little, I'll say little interaction or speaking you were allowed to do.
Yeah. I mean, shooting the promos and stuff, that was like a whole day, sunrise to past sunset, where we were not actually allowed to talk, really.
I
Um,
heard that actually from another contestant. Kenya told me that they were being put on ice, but it wasn't like the later seasons. I think because you were on cycle 9, so I feel like by
yeah.
that time they learned they're like we got to ramp it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I
We got
think
to
it was
keep them
more
quiet.
extreme.
Yeah. They also, I think, was Kenya Cycle, that might have been the one. I'm not sure. There was one that was before us where they were like, we're so sorry. They definitely made you not smoke because we used smoking to like escape. They were like, we
Oh
would go
wow.
smoke cigarettes and talk, and also like we knew they didn't really like filming us, and so we would just smoke and smoke. And so that's definitely why they like made it a no smoking. And we were like, okay, that's fair. I mean, I'm grateful because I needed to quit anyways,
She's like, I needed to quit, but not like this.
but not like that. I know.
Okay, for those who don't know though, because actually I wrote down a whole little section about the smoking thing because I was reading it and I literally wrote, "Oh my God," page 115. They did so. So there were 3 smokers, if I'm not mistaken. It was you,
Yeah.
Jenna, and Janet.
Me, Jenna,
Were
and
the
Janet,
smokers?
and no, not embryo. There was one more who was like who would bum one, but I can't remember who now.
So we had some smokers in the house on
Yeah.
cycle 9, and then you guys did a smoking photo shoot.
Mhm.
Coincidentally, not unrelated to you guys being smokers. And then what? Can you please tell us what happens
Yes.
next?
So we did a smoking photo shoot where we had to be this very glamorous old Hollywood, person smoking in the mirror. And then the reflection in the mirror, we did a second photo shoot where we would represent a side effect that comes from smoking. So someone did hair loss, someone did lung cancer, I did premature aging, which what could be worse? And then yeah, we were judged on both photos. And after that, Tyra announced at the panel that we would no longer be allowed to smoke. She was like, smoke them if you got them. You can smoke them tonight, and then tomorrow, no more smoking. Which
That's crazy.
was a crazy cutoff. And they did offer to buy us patches or gum. I think we had to pay for it ourselves, but don't quote me. I could be wrong about that. They might have offered free patches or gum if we wanted. Um, I don't think so though, because I would have done the gum if I didn't have to pay for it. Um, so I'm pretty sure we would have had to pay for it ourselves, which would have been really expensive. But yeah, and Jenna was like a pretty heavy smoker. She went into actual withdrawal. Janet and I were pretty occasional, so we were sort of okay. We were just a little irritable, and Janet was a little constipated.
Oh, I mean, listen, if you are an okay, if you smoke every day,
Mhm.
yeah, you're gonna have withdrawals.
Yeah,
Me as a reader, when I read this, I thought they're, in my opinion, they are doing this on purpose to agitate the girls because you're gonna be going through when you're going through any type of withdrawal, you're gonna be more easily irritable.
a hundred
So
percent.
you were actually there. What was your experience like? Did you think, oh, they're doing this on purpose, or oh no, it truly is to help people
We
with
didn't
not
really
smoking?
think about it. We just assumed it was like that they really wanted to prove a point. And then yeah, when Jenna was a little more irritable, we were like, okay, maybe that's it. And then later when I interviewed the girls from earlier cycles, they were like, oh no, it's because we used to use it as a way to like escape the camera crews and sort of like get a respite. You know what I mean? Because they didn't like to film us smoking. And so we used that as a way to have conversations that we didn't want to be covered. And then um when I was really thinking about it, like what was so crazy was they told us to buy as many cigarettes as we needed for 2 months.
Before,
Yeah,
wait, hold on.
yeah.
And
Um,
for sure, you guys put in in the 17,000 forms you guys had to fill out that you guys are smokers.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
they no, they knew, I mean, they knew, yeah, how much we drank, how much they tested for every single drug. They knew everything that we'd yeah,
So
we'd
they
ever
knew
done.
that there's smokers in the house
Hmm.
and there's not maybe not enough drama.
Yeah.
What do we got to do here? Again, this is just this is what I think as an outside view. I'm like,
Yeah.
how can we irritate the girls? There's not enough. You guys are getting along too well. Did you feel like you guys were all getting along well?
Yeah, yeah, it did. We all had like really lovely moments that I thought I assumed that that was true for every cycle, and apparently it was not. Like they did not have slumber parties, and we used to have little circles where we would like all tell secrets, and it was really, really sweet. And I know it changed a little bit later in the cycle, like after I was eliminated, but not a lot. Like Bianca and Heather, they made this big deal about them like there was a conflict over the bed, but actually, like they shared a bed regularly and were like friends and really loved each other. And so, yeah, we definitely got along.
Do you still talk to any of the girls
Yeah,
present?
I do. Yeah, I talked to Heather and Jenna. Chantal and I really randomly had the same midwife.
What? What a small
Yeah,
world.
I know. It was really wild. And oh my God, I was like a bajillion months pregnant. And my midwife showed me this stunning video of Chantal like giving birth. And it was so beautiful. And my midwife was like, she never screamed. She was just so quiet. And she really like hummed and sang. And she looked, I mean, it looked like a photo shoot staging a birth. And I was like, if you do not get that video out of my fucking face, I'm going to eat you. Get, I'm a, absolutely not. So I was like, that's beautiful. Oh, I swear to God.
That's beautiful. I don't want to see it
I
right
want to,
now. Not
no.
at the moment. No. Let's
Mhm.
show
Yeah.
me something else.
Show me
Maybe show me a
immediately.
little of something else.
Yeah.
I mean, you detail so much in the book. Um, let's talk about the judges for a moment. I'm sure everyone
Mm.
wants to know what were your thoughts on the judges when you were allowed to speak for like 10 minutes? Because, by the way, you guys, there are details in this book about the fact that there was hours in between. What we see on the show is
Yeah.
you guys are there, they do the judging, they do elimination right after. But in
Eliminations
reality,
were long. Yeah. Because they did all the pickup shots in between, like while they were quote unquote deliberating. Not that they weren't deliberating, but they would shoot the deliberation and also, yeah, all the pickup shots. And it was exhausting. Those were really long days. And yeah, I mean, Miss J was amazing and lovely. And, um, always sort of made it clear that when she was giving these like sort of very cutting comments, it was part of a like culture of like reading people. And it always felt very like fashion oriented and very kind of cultured and in a way it just I don't know, it didn't hurt the same way. And Nigel was like fine and lovely and actually gave me a piece of advice that I think about all the time to this day. Um, which is when you are self-deprecating after you get a compliment, that doesn't actually make anyone more comfortable. And it like you're doing it, you think you're doing it for the benefit of other people, but it actually just makes people uncomfortable. So when you get a compliment, just say thank you. And I think about that so much. And yeah, he was fine. He was like lovely. They love to make a big deal about how attractive he was. And I just remember being like, wishing I hadn't played along. I like played along in the first interview. I was like, yeah, oh my God, he's so attractive. And then I was like, oh no, this is like a thing now. Like not that he's not an attractive guy. I just was
it's
like,
like, why
he's
would they
like
ask you guys that?
just
Just
all and
just take the
all the
picture. Show me the picture and eliminate
time.
someone, please.
Truly. They were like, oh my God, isn't he so handsome? And I was like, he's handsome, but like he's not my type. And I've talked like anyways. He's like like he's fine. And yeah, and then Twiggy was surprisingly mean. Although it's funny, when I talk about the things she said, like they were really mean, they were very hurtful. But when I think about them in the context of someone who modeled for so many years, like I think comments about someone's appearance and someone's body did not register to her necessarily as mean because she'd had her appearance picked apart for so long.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, who had never been in the industry and was in this really high stakes situation, when she would say things like, you're actually not very attractive in person, like, I would find that so devastating. But when I think about them after having worked as a model, I'm like, it makes more sense.
I think I would cry if someone told
No, it
me
was pretty. It was, I mean,
that
and also with the British accent, you didn't always notice
the,
right away. And it was only later where you were like, wait, that was me.
that's actually so real. Somehow it just sounds less mean. You're like,
No,
oh,
and
how charming.
yeah, I mean, and also, she would be saying like, I'm so surprised that this is such a good photo because in person you're quite plain. And so I'd be like, oh, thank you. And then it would be much later. I'd be like, wait, what do you mean,
That's
thank you?
okay.
God damn it.
What about Tyra? How was she as a judge and the hosts?
Tyra is exactly like she seems on camera and nothing more and nothing less. Really like what you see on TV is very much what you get for weirder and worser and better and um there were she's just always on. She's very performative, for lack of a better word. Like there were times when, she was just riffing on some bit ad nauseum, and it was sort of like, well, like when we had the flower shoot, I wrote in my journal like Tyra made so many flower puns. I thought she was sponsored by Home Depot, and I was like, it just was
Miracle
like
Girl. I laughed at that actually.
Miracle Grow. Oh, Miracle. That right.
Miracle
That's
Girl.
better. It just was like so much, and then I realized like she was performing for the people at home. It wasn't for us, but in person, that can be a little jarring when someone's in front of you and talking to you. When you realize they're not really talking to you, they're talking to 6.3 million viewers. Like, um, so yeah. But she's one of the most beautiful and compelling people I've ever met in person. I mean, her attention really like when she looks at you, you really feel like you are caught in a spotlight in both in good and bad ways.
Is there anything that happened during the show that didn't make it to air that you were surprised by?
Yeah, the gay stuff. We all talked about how me and Lisa and Jenna all talked about how queer we were, and none of that made it to air. Um, And yeah, I mean, I came out on the show. I came out, in the closet, um, literally in a closet, um, which is that's just a beautiful detail I'll always cherish. And I was really surprised. That seemed like it was such a big deal. And also, yeah, there were a lot of times when we would sit and we would all tell our deepest, darkest secrets, and none of that made it to air. Which in retrospect, I think it was because we were bonding over, that was us getting closer, and that's not necessarily what they want to show. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Yeah, I mean, they had me go to a chiropractor at one point. It was like this whole side plot. They sent me to a chiropractor to like fix my walk, and none of that made it. And um, I think that was the biggest thing was yeah, the gay stuff. I'm surprised none of that made it. But also this was early. Maybe they didn't want to. Um, it's one thing to have a gay contestant, but bisexual is just another. It's too complicated. How will the viewers at home
They're
understand?
like, actually, we want to talk about her weight and the
Yeah,
fact that we think that she's trying to lose weight, which
yeah. She
was a
lost three
storyline
pounds.
for you. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because you, in your book, you mentioned the producers would ask you, I wrote page 168. I wrote,
Yeah,
are you on a diet? Are you
yeah,
eating less because you don't feel good about yourself? Are you trying to
yeah.
be as thin as the other girls? They are asking you this
Hmm.
out of out of nowhere. What can you tell us in that moment what you were feeling?
I mean, my theory that I don't, that is just based on the questions that they asked, is that they really wanted me to be very body positive and very confident and to really like espouse all those values and be a good like talking head for those. Like, and I couldn't. I didn't have the language, I didn't have the confidence, I didn't have the understanding of representation and why that matters. And so I couldn't fulfill that role. And so I think then they had to pivot and go in the absolute opposite direction and target my insecurity. And, you know, I wish that I could have used that to then come around and realize and be like, fuck you, I'm gonna feel great about myself. But I didn't. And I didn't because I was so deep in believing that it was wrong that I was plus size and that it was a bad thing. And when they then said you aren't plus size enough, that felt like a confirmation of like, oh, you know, um, Like I'm not plus size, and that's the only reason or the only reason that I'm attractive is that I'm not actually that fat, because in my head that's how it worked. And yeah, so then they really started hammering home, like, are you losing weight? Are you trying to lose weight? And that did feel very weird because I was so obsessive about my weight. I weighed myself every day. I knew that I wasn't losing weight. And I knew, I fluctuate like everyone, and I was totally within my normal fluctuation, and it never was more than 2 or 3 pounds. And so I know that because I obsessively weighed myself. So it was just became this weird thing where they were like, well, you're losing weight. And I was like, I'm not though. I don't know anything. I don't know anything that's going on. I don't understand why you're asking me this. I don't understand what you want me to say. All like I have to like hold on to this one truth, which is that the numbers aren't changing. And I just have to hold on to that. I'm not losing weight. Um,
But looking
and
back at it
yeah,
now that so many years have passed, why do you think they were asking you all those questions?
I mean, it's weird because I don't know. Maybe I did look thinner. I will say I knew at the time, and this is something that I encountered afterwards in the plus size industry. Like, I would be cast, and people were often surprised by my measurements. Like, I think I looked thinner than I was. And maybe it's because my arms are like really really long. My legs are pretty long, so a lot of times, like, I would go to a fitting and they'd be like, oh, we're really surprised, we thought you'd be this size and you're this size. And so I think maybe that was a factor where they just were like, she looks so thin. But like my measurements were the same as the plus size winner who won the next year. And I know that because we were at the same agency for a while. But I was like, man, we have the same measurements. Like, that's crazy. That's Whitney, who I also talk to sometimes. She's great. She's really lovely. Um,
How did you feel about the winner of America's Next Top Model for your cycle, Celicia?
oh, I was not surprised in the slightest. Celicia came there knowing that she was a good model, knowing who she was. She had a really strong sense of self. She had a really strong sense of purpose and focus. And she knew she was going to win. Um, and so, yeah, I just always sort of believed her. I was like, I mean, yeah. And she was right.
How was it? Because I know that Bianca was also on your season and Ebony was your roommate on the
Yeah.
cruise. Can you
Yeah.
talk to me about your relationship on the show with them?
I mean, Ebony and I were roommates on the cruise, and I really loved being her roommate, and we talked a lot and got pretty close. That didn't transfer over to the show that much. I mean, that's not true. We still talked and we were friendly, but we weren't necessarily in the same like clique so much. And then she left. There was also a little bit of a divide. Like it was like Janet. Oh, I'm gonna get this wrong now. Okay, it was Janet, Bianca, Ebony, Lisa. That was sort of one crew, and then it was like Celicia. Oh, I'm gonna get this wrong. Okay,
Chantal.
Chantal. Yeah. Okay, Celicia, Chantal, Jenna, and Heather were like this other, and then the rest of us were all just sort of floating in between. So like I wasn't really in either clique, but I was a little bit closer to Jenna and Heather. That was sort of why I ended up being a little bit less close to Ebony, but she was amazing, and we all thought Ebony was going to win. Like if you asked Lisa or even probably Celicia or Bianca, we were all like, well, yeah, but she's gonna win because I mean, she was the most beautiful person I'd ever. She was shocking. Like when you saw her, no makeup, hair in a bun, terrible wig, shockingly beautiful. But yeah, but no, I mean, Celicia was really lovely. I feel like maybe Celicia was on the other side. I can't remember. Because Celicia and Janet were close, I think. But yeah, and Bianca was really lovely too. She was just very young and very sweet and very like sort of silly. Yeah.
She's
In like on
hilarious.
purpose, like in a good way. Yeah.
But there was a point where Ebony left the competition. Can you
Yeah.
tell the viewers about that? And
Yeah.
how did Tyra react to that, by the way?
Um, in the moment, it was like it almost I think she was like all of us, she was super surprised. And so it was like we sort of saw her unfiltered reaction. She was sort of polite and nice and just sort of shocked, you know. Um, and then yeah, she said, I no longer want to be here. And she said, I think you just don't like being told what to do, but you know, you can go. And so then like she went to leave and one of the directors came up and was like, no, no, wait, we gotta because they had it all, you know, they have it all planned out for the elimination. Like they're ready to follow the person who gets eliminated, but this was different. And so they were like, we have to like reset. And so we had to sit on ice. We weren't allowed to talk, just sitting there. She was sitting separately from us for while they reset all the cameras. And Tyra went off to go talk with like the producers and stuff about like what to do, presumably, you know. And yeah, then she went and talked to Ken Mock. I think Ken was there. It could have been a different producer, but like she kind of rushed off set. And then when she came back, it was a very different vibe. She was much more composed. And it was, you know, the most unattractive thing to me is a quitter. And for that, you can go. And then she went to hug us to say goodbye because finally we were like, you know, sort of allowed to talk. And they said, no, don't touch them. You have to leave. And so she just walked out. And then we didn't see her again. But I know I found out afterwards that they kept her in the hotel. They kept her all the way to the end. She walked in the final fashion show.
No way.
And
I'm
I don't
surprised
want
they
to
had her
give
do
away,
that then.
yeah, I don't want to give away too much because I talk about it in the book, but I did interview an executive producer about that. And some of the things he said were really shocking and really upsetting. So I will recommend that people read the book.
You guys will have to read the book. Again, it's called You Want to Be on Top. And I want to just go into a little section where you answer some audience questions that everyone
Yay.
wants me to ask you. And
Okay.
I would like to know the answer to too.
Okay.
So, some people, I compiled some of the most popular questions. You already answered this one. Oh, was there anything you could not include in the book? And how was the legal process? Because we know that you signed an NDA.
Yeah, there was something that I could not include in the book because I could not substantiate whether the producers intended for it to be upsetting. And I think yeah, I can say that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And
don't want
also
to.
like one thing was like you know, there was a lot of debate about so like this is just the level that the legal team went through. Like this is the level of process. It's like I used the phrase hidden cameras and they were like, okay, were they actually hidden? Like, can we call them that? Or did you just not know they were there? And we really had to like think about whether I was allowed to say hidden cameras or security cameras or like, and we decided that they were hidden. There was also one thing like we all remember there being a two-way mirror, and I will say that the producer denied that that was the case.
Two-way mirror?
In the bathroom
What,
and in the closet. Yeah.
what do
Um,
you need to see going on in the bathroom? They're like,
oh,
we need to
so
know
the
what's
bathroom
happening in
was
here.
set up in a very, it was like very open. There were like stalls for the toilets and everything else. Like you had to, like, the bedroom would go into this very open bathroom area and then into the closet. So it was like,
What you
yeah,
don't need to know what's happening in the bathroom. Like what's gonna happen in the bathroom that's so
well, with girls though, so a lot.
it's a modeling show. I think I'm
I know.
forgetting this is for America's Next Top Model,
I
but it feels
know.
more like a reality. Did it feel like more of a reality show to you?
Yeah. But I had to assume, I was like, but I assume we're learning, you know, I was taking notes. I was like, because I knew nothing about fashion. So I took notes as though I was going to learn about the fashion industry and then it was pretty different. But yeah,
Another question someone had, did the show change anything through editing that wasn't based on truth?
yes. Yeah, for sure. And a producer of reality shows, not Top Model, but of like the dating show era, like The Bachelor, Love is Blind type shows, confirmed that they absolutely do something called frankenbiting, where they'll take a soundbite where you're answering a question about something else and splice it together with other phrases to make it seem like you're saying something you absolutely did not say.
Did they do that to you?
They never did that to me except once. There was one where they made it sound like I was really uncomfortable with my body. And it had been a point of pride that they had been trying all day to get me to say that I didn't like what I was wearing and I wouldn't say it. Even though it had gotten to the point where they had been asking so much that it was true, right? Like I had been feeling really good about what I was wearing. And then they asked and they asked and they asked and they asked, and it chipped away at that confidence. But I was determined not to show that. And I was so proud of myself because I made it the whole day and I never said anything bad about my body or said anything bad about what I was wearing. And they made it seem like I did. And I was really frustrated. And I don't know what clip they used, but
Isn't it crazy how, I mean, that does, when you mentioned it being more like a cult, the fact that you're away from friends and family for so long, you have $37 to spend on food, you don't get to even communicate or talk to people unless the cameras are rolling, you
yeah.
get limited amount of sleep, however much sleep you get,
Mhm.
you would have to tell us about more about that. But
Listen, I interviewed Claire Unabia, who had a 1 year old when she went on the show, and I asked her, I was like, "Were you the only one that was sleeping more on the show than you did in your normal life?" And she was like, "No, it was being on the show is comparable to having a newborn," which was crazy because then when I had a newborn, I was like, "Yep, this was the level of sleep deprivation we were operating on," and it was really crazy.
that's a crazy, that is absolutely crazy.
It was so weird because my body remembered it, like and it was very.
You
I
had
was
flashbacks.
No, I really
This is
did of
just
just
like America's
being
Next Top
that
Model.
tired. Yeah, you're like you really. They say your body keeps the score, and I never really understood that phrase until I was like, oh, it's like drunk memory. There's certain things you don't even remember until you're that tired again, and it's like a level of fatigue that is had been unparalleled in my life.
So it's kind of like when all those things considered, the sleep, the lack of sleep, the food, and all of that stuff, you're not with your friends and family.
Mhm.
Sometimes you do find yourself acting in ways you normally don't, saying things you normally don't or wouldn't say.
100%.
So I think that it also plays a role in the questioning, their leading questions. What do you feel about? How do you think you feel about Lisa? Did you think that Lisa deserved to do? You just get also the smoking thing, which
Yeah,
plays a
yeah,
huge role. You're withdrawing from someone.
hmm
You're going to catch them in a mood when you're doing
yeah,
an interview with them. So people have to take into consideration when they're watching back these shows that these are special circumstances. It's almost like like a bubble that you guys are in. And
yeah.
so do you feel like you were portrayed accurately on the show?
I do think I was portrayed accurately, and I think I got really lucky with my edit. And I know that a lot of girls don't feel the same way. And girls who were on for longer than I am had a lot more time to be misrepresented and to have moments that were misrepresented. I think the other thing that it helps to remember is like, okay, a lot of times we would get back to the house after a really long shoot, we would be exhausted, and they would say, okay, you have to do your interviews, and then you can go to bed. So you're in this room and they're asking you questions and you know what they want you to say. And you know that either you cannot say them and you can have a go round for however long until they finally get you to say it or until they give up, or you can say it and then you get to go to sleep, or then you get to eat, or whatever it is. They're using those bodily comforts to, you know, like you would be in there and you would know, okay, I can be in here for 15 minutes or I can be in here for 5 minutes. And those 10 minutes like are really feel much longer and feel much more important when you are so hungry or you're so tired or whatever is happening. And so I know that also I got lucky because a lot of times I'm so bad at like understanding time and also understanding what they wanted that I didn't necessarily fall prey to that particular manipulation. Occasionally I would, and I would be like, fuck me, I just want to say it so I can get the fuck out of here.
Imagine you were in an interrogation. That's how they get people to falsely confess. They break them down. You were there. You did this. You didn't
Exactly.
like
And they're giving
her.
you information that you don't know if it's accurate. I really say like that the most valuable lesson the show taught me is that you don't know how you will behave in extreme situations, because I was so surprised by myself in these small ways, but again, where I feel really lucky, both in and how it was edited and how I was treated on set and after the show. But I still was constantly surprised by myself.
Another question is, what is one thing, oh, besides paying the models, what is one thing that you would change about America's Next Top Model?
Um, I mean, if I wouldn't be a contestant because I'm no longer I no longer even want to be a top model, let alone like look like I should, or that's not my like goal right now. So that's not Like there's no reason for me to go on the show. But if I was producing it or I was creating a show to like because I feel like the goal of the show is twofold. One is to find America's Next Top Model, right? And the other is to pull the curtain back on the fashion world. So I think the biggest thing that I would change is I would trust that the real fashion world is interesting enough and makes good enough television because I think they had this idea. That was what they set out to do. And then they were like, well, we have to up the stakes and we have to up the ante. And I would put a lot more faith in the fact that the fashion world is really interesting and it's really weird and it's really cool. And if viewers don't like it, then it's not for them and that's okay. I don't need to appeal to someone who doesn't care about, you know, actual like issues in fashion. So I would ramp it down a lot and then I would also I think I would take a lot of cues from like British reality shows that seem to rely on conflict a lot less and I would also trust that people like to see people getting along.
Is there any one of your favorite memories from the show that you will never forget or that comes to mind when I ask this?
Oh, I mean so many uh I mean I think like the first thing that comes to mind is just that very first day when we were in the house and we looked out onto LA, like just seeing the city before us and being in this crazy house. It really was like so much of the show was so surreal. And that was the first one of the first moments that was really surreal in a good way. And then also, I think shooting the promo, that was really the first time where I was like, wait, I think I like modeling. Like this feels
Yes.
good. And I love this. And that, you know, like I don't, like I said, I don't model anymore. I don't miss it, but it was a really, really, I'm really grateful to that chapter in my life. And that wouldn't have happened without the show. So I think, yeah, that promo shoot in the weird outfit and just, yeah, my first time really in front of a camera. And I mean, except for the time when we'd been like on the beach with a photographer, you know, in the very first episode, but we only got to take 5 photos, which
Oh,
really did not feel like a
that
photo
is
shoot.
nothing. Oh
No,
my
and it's just
God.
click, 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 and then that's it. So it was, I didn't have time to like process what was happening or think about how to like, you know. And so when we were shooting the promos, that was really like that whole day was when it just had all the positive potential of what I thought it was gonna be like. And so I think that's probably my favorite memory.
Do you have any memories about the music video that you guys shot?
Yeah. I just remember it being hot. It was just so hot and we were so tired. Um, and we were so made up and we were yeah in these crazy we were in like I mean we were in like straight up pleasers, we were in stripper heels, some of us um yeah, and just being so uncomfortable, yeah, and then being really scared and really afraid and um because yeah, Heather was really, really sick. And it was really, really scary. And you know, she did end up being fine. She was fine soon after. And I was almost sort of embarrassed because I'd made such a stink and I'd freaked out so much. But in the moment, I mean, she lost consciousness twice. She vomited. Her eyes were rolling back in her head. She was frothing at the mouth at one point. And I was really afraid she was going to have a seizure or have brain damage. And I didn't have any, you know, I don't even, I think I got heat stroke later in my life. I don't think I'd had it by then. I didn't have any knowledge, but I just was like, I don't know a lot, but I know that's bad, you know?
Did they not care about the conditions? If you see
Um,
yeah, you mentioned that it's so hot and
they
then they
were
have a model
trying.
who's
They were trying. They had fans, they had waters, they had cooling
okay.
stations. But that was mostly for the other girls. That was not for us
The
because they
other
were
girls in the video.
yeah. So they were very much shooting two music videos that day. They were shooting the real one and then this one. Uh,
Wow.
and
So,
most of the other girls were union, and so they got a lot more accommodations and a lot more creature comforts than we did.
and did they get paid?
And I'm sure they got paid, even if only the
That's
extras.
crazy.
You know, like they
That's so
still,
wrong.
yeah.
Like imagine everyone getting paid by you guys.
It
Actually, you
was
don't have to
so.
imagine
I
because
remember at lunch too. It would be like, okay, so the crew goes, and then the union cast goes, and then the non-union cast goes, and then the non-union crew goes, and now you guys.
what's left at that
Yeah,
point?
it was wild. Yeah.
Should we watch that when we do a reaction video? Is that the one?
Oh yeah, we should
I've
definitely
been
do that
thinking
one.
about which episode would you want to react to. Have you
Yeah.
watched the show since?
Hmm.
You have.
I did. I watched it to research. Yeah.
Oh,
I
how was
figured,
that for you, by the way?
it was weird. I could do about one episode at a time. Partially just because I would have memories and because this I hadn't watched it since I barely watched it when it came out. I didn't really. There were a lot of things I had not seen. A lot. And I hadn't seen the episodes after I got eliminated. And so yeah, it was great. It was kind of but yeah, I would have like memories where and then I'd have to go like scribble and write things down.
So you
Um,
didn't watch the episodes you after you were eliminated
mm-mm.
since you were on the show.
Mhm. I watched little
Wow.
clips and I would watch snippets sometimes, but yeah.
Is there an episode you want to react to?
I mean, I think the elimination one is the one. I cry, a girl faints. Like you gotta, it's
You're gonna
definitely the
make me
most
watch
exciting
that?
one.
Okay.
We totally don't have to. We can also watch the
Oh,
makeover
I'll
one.
do it if you're okay. Yeah,
There's a lot
let's
of
do it.
fun behind the scenes stuff with the makeover episode. But
Ooh.
that's
Oh,
probably
on
the
that
one that has
episode?
the yeah, the makeover episode probably has the most like behind the scenes stuff that didn't make it to air. Um But yeah, that one was pretty good. But then also, yeah, the elimination episode is, I mean, it's the most dramatic, I think.
Ooh, okay. You guys, for those listening, let us know which episode you would like
Yeah.
Sarah and I to react
Yeah.
to.
There's also a lot of good behind the scenes stuff of the one where we had a shoot on a skyscraper. I was convinced I was going home. Both Ambrielle and I like cried
With the
together.
trampoline, right?
Did we have a
Was it with the
trampoline?
trampoline? Or was
Yeah,
it
that might have been that
not
episode. Yeah.
not a trampoline? I'm sorry. It was like
We
elevated.
did a challenge on a trampoline. And then I think the photo shoot, that might have been a different photo shoot though.
Someone was
Uh,
like terrified of heights and then walked up there.
Ambrielle was really scared of heights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And they just so happened to have a photo
Crazy,
shoot with heights. So
crazy,
crazy. Could you
crazy
believe
on the
it?
edge of a building. Yep.
Who could I would have never guessed. It was
Yeah.
just a coincidence.
They must have had her fill out somewhere stresses in your life, phobias, fears.
Tall buildings.
Hmm.
That's why in my reaction videos I always say you gotta lie.
Yeah.
I'm scared of money. I'm
I'm
scared of
so scared of
puppies.
money.
Puppies, terrifying.
Mhm.
Cats,
Yep.
please.
I think I did say I was scared of spiders, which I'm like not because I was like, I can
Girl,
fake that. You know what I
Sarah.
mean? Like
Oh,
I can fake being afraid of a spider and I'm like not. So I was like, if I had to like hold a spider, like I wouldn't like it and I could be like, I don't like it. I don't like spiders, but they don't. I was like, I could fake
it's
that.
not like a phobia.
Yeah.
Are you the reason that they have the smoking photo they did the smoking photo shoot?
I hope not.
They're
I
like
hope
three
I did.
smokers. Okay, smoking
Yeah.
photo shoot.
I did also, let's see, I did put my real phobia, which is I'm terrified of needles and having blood drawn and all of that. Um, but thank God they
They're
didn't.
like we don't want to be too obvious.
I know, right? Yeah.
Too obvious.
And I absolutely would have fainted if we do that.
Oh my God. Don't tell them that. They're going to be
I
like,
know, right?
Sarah,
Yeah.
we want you back for the
Sarah, we
All-Star
want you back
season.
for we want you to guest judge. Just kidding.
Just
Yeah.
kidding. You're going to be modeling today with a giant needle. One of the last questions I have to know. Did you ever get to meet Natasha, who you quoted on the phone? Do you miss me?
You mean
Do you love me?
you love me? No, I never did. I wonder what she's
Why?
up to now. I should, yeah. And I took Russian in high school, so I could,
We got to
that,
get you on the phone right now with her.
I know that's
Do you
so
have her
funny. Now
number?
I want to look her up. Wait, what was her last
Hi,
name? Yeah.
Natasha. Just so you know,
I quoted, I should have sent her a ding dang book, is what I should have done.
you should be
Um,
like, do you miss me?
Be like, I'm so sorry. I quoted you.
You're
Um,
she was iconic too on the show.
She is iconic and
She
stunning.
is so iconic.
Actress, model, TV host. Yeah.
Let's get her.
Um,
Let's get that phone number.
Honestly, I know
Add
I
her
should.
to the Zoom call.
I literally, oh wait, she hasn't posted since 2018.
She's still there's people who don't post, but they're checking those DMs
Yeah,
every day.
hopefully she's on there. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. She has a different. Okay. Oh no, here is this.
Let me look her up,
Anyways,
Natasha.
I'm gonna look her up and I'm gonna be like, can I send you a book? Because I quote you in it. Also, I'm so sorry.
Let me see if I have any other. I think those are all the. Oh, I mean, you already kind of answered this, but which judge do you consider to be the kindest, and which do you consider to be the rudest?
Miss J was definitely the kindest, and I'd say Twiggy was the rudest. Although it's one of those things, but she rude. Yeah, she was. I mean, technically, she was very, very, very polite, but she did say some things that I thought were very rude. So yeah, mixed bag for sure.
I mean, do you have any regrets?
Oh gosh. I mean, no, regret is a useless emotion, or a useless thing. It's not, I certainly try not to entertain regrets and just think about what I can learn from things. And I hope, yeah, I think the biggest thing that I learned is, yeah, like not to judge people, like truly. And the Natasha thing is a great example. I made so much fun of her and I thought that was so ridiculous. And then I immediately did the same thing. And so, yeah, very much. I think if I have any regrets, it would be just like having any preconception about what was going to happen and having any judgment about people who had come before. Um, and also, yeah, maybe not really understanding like my privilege. So, I had so much privilege going into that situation. Um, but no, I'm pretty happy with how I did on the show. Um, I think, yeah, I don't know. There's definitely things I would do differently, but I was so young and dumb. Like I have a lot of compassion for myself now.
I
How
love
about
that. I think
that?
that's important.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we've all been through that awkward stage of life, but
Yeah.
you guys had it literally recorded with the cameras.
I know.
So
Yeah.
yeah, give yourself, I think you did a great job, all things considered, and
Yeah.
your photos were beautiful.
Thank you.
You dealt with people commenting on your body constantly.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you did a great job and you
Thank you.
turned out great considering all of
Oh,
that. You
thank you
really
so
did.
much.
Yeah. I'm sorry that they did that to you, by the way. That's terrible.
Yeah.
That's so
But it's
terrible.
also, it was a different time. Which it's crazy to think because it feels like it was not that long ago, but it really was. The early aughts were just a crazy time for women's bodies.
And the thing is, America's Next Top Model is still talked about till this day.
I know. No, it's really a testament, because it was such a cultural zeitgeist moment. It really was. And that's not nothing. That's an accomplishment. That's an amazing thing that they made. And it was, I'm really glad that I got to be a part of it. And yeah, hopefully the next time around we can do it a little better.
And I love that you got to write all about it in this
Yeah.
gorgeous book.
Thank you so
Again,
much.
it's called You Want to Be on Top. It's a memoir of makeovers, manipulation, and not becoming America's Next Top Model.
Mhm.
You guys pick up your copy today. I'm going to have a link in the description so you can check out this book by Sarah. You will not, if you are a fan of America's Next Top Model, you need to read this. So I want to thank Sarah for
Thank
joining
you
me
so
on this
much.
call. And you guys, hopefully me and you will be reacting in
Yes,
person to an episode
I
of
know.
America's Next Top Model. I'm so
Can't
excited.
wait. Come to New
And
York. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm sorry, by the way.
Oh.
I'm going to Tokyo in a few days and there was just no time to
Oh my
squeeze.
God, but that's exciting.
Thank you. You want to meet me there? I'm going to
Yeah.
come. You're
I
invited.
wish. I wish. Oh my God, that sounds amazing. I've always wanted to go, but
Do you want some snacks from Japan?
yes.
Have you ever?
Yes.
Okay,
very
I'm
much.
going to write down. You can, if you think of something, I'm going to email you and be like, what do
Oh
you
my
want?
God, amazing. Yeah.
I'm serious.
I cannot wait. I want to go to a Japanese 7-Eleven so bad.
I'm going to bring it to you. You
Oh
tell
my
me
God,
what you
yes.
want. I'm serious. I'm going to write it. I'm going to email you after this and I'm going to be there for like a month. So you tell me whatever you
Oh
want.
my God, that's so cool.
Thank
Have you been before?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's like yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
So anything you
definitely-
want.
Oh
If you're
my
on
God,
TikTok
amazing. Thank you.
and you see some chips or chocolates that you want, I'll bring
yeah.
it when I see you in New York.
Oh my God, yes. Oh, yay. That'll be so fun.